let's see, which one is this? Oh, here's like an old original breakdown of that hunchback tackle where you can see uh, basically sketches of what the mech was going to look like. Uh, a lot of times what I did for both this animation and for like anything moving forward is you would draw out very simple like keyframes of this is where the mech is on this frame, this is where the pose is on this frame, this is where the pose is on the next one, and then when you go in and do the full animation, you sort of clip things into how everything's sort of set out. Also, a fun thing is if you notice, uh, these are much more like, I guess, low resolution versions of the ultimate assets that you see in the rest of the movie. So what we have are just like very simple blocky shapes that are then you can go in and just like detail the heck out of them once you have the animation down, which was one of one of the sort of time saving methods that I will probably end up employing in the future to because when you have giant robots, the biggest hurdle that you come down to is just the sheer amount of detail that these machines have, and trying to get those to work in a sort of a full lifelike motion and vibrancy. That's why, like, when you see old school like 1980s and 1990s like mecha anime, when you have like hand drawn Gundams like moving through a city and like going to punch each other, and you got like pipes and rivets and screws flying all over the place, and there's dust everywhere, and like you can see like servos whining and straining as these machines like battle with momentum and gravity. Someone went in and drew all of that, and
Yeah.
it's magnificent.
Indeed. Amen.
Yeah. Cowboy Bebop like has a whole bunch of fantastic examples of that sort of incredibly detailed technical animation. And then
So
the
what were the complaints about that shot with the hunchback going in?
Hunchback, I think, is running too fast and is basically moving in a more dynamic way than it should be able to in this universe.
Okay. Yeah.
What I don't see is that I also get I get similar comments on the animation in Freehead too.
Okay.
Of the mechs, are moving too fast and they feel too light and floaty, which I think these people are coming from a basis of they played a lot of MechWarrior 3, which has a very slow and cumbersome sort of animation system. It works really well for the style of that game. And I think after reconsidering and like looking in at the aesthetics of how I want to have these projects and films shape out, they do have a bit of merit, and they do have a bit of point, and these mechs, especially in Revival, are moving faster than even I would like to see them now. But I am not like my foot on the ground. This is the hill that I'm going to die on. Moment is I'm not going to make walking tanks.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
but
but
I'm trying really.
they're not walking tanks. I mean,
Yeah.
I also, before I was a rower, I was a track and field athlete, and a
Mm.
fairly good one. And I still run for my primary exercise now. But looking at the stride, if you look at how a sprinter runs, 200 meters or so, and
Right.
then extrapolate the speed that they're going for that, and then expand that into a humanoid form running 60 kph, and it looks fine.
Yeah.
They're not going to be clunky. Nothing running
Yeah.
that fast with 2 legs and 2 arms is going to look clunky. It's going to be
Yeah.
there's dynamism to it. That's what the gyro is for, and the neuro helmet. So
Yeah. And
if
they're
anything, maybe the stride length is long, but
yeah.
I
Or like the frequency is a little bit too
yeah,
fast, like it's stepping too quickly. But ultimately, like that's
like
something that we can try to address in the future.
yeah, I mean, as someone who's spent many hours watching athletes move, there's no uncanny valley there for me.
No.
The movement looks good.
Good.
So
And like even in the lore, these machines aren't necessarily constructed in the same way that we have a lot of robots today.
mhm.
Uh, in that like they're using actuators and servos, like electric motors that are usually operating on like a single rotational axis, and you connect those to the rest of the limbs, right?
Yeah.
Mechs are based on myomer, however you want to, however you pronounce it, bundles, artificial musculature connected to an artificial skeleton.
Hmm.
Um, I actually took a little bit more inspiration for how I want these machines to look in my head from the show Neon Genesis Evangelion, and like the production notes that they had for that. It's a giant robot show with a lot of like crazy anime nonsense and dark themes, and like some like really fantastic, spectacular character writing. But we're getting beside the point. The giant robots in that show were very intentionally made, not so much to appear as giant robots, but as like barely caged monsters that people happen to be piloting around. And that's sort of the aesthetic that I want to go for these things. Like they're lifelike, and they move with they move with more fluidity and more soul than you would expect, while hopefully at the same time being these heavy, clunky, um, grounded war machines. So that's sort of the balance that I'd like to strike there. They have to
That's good.
feel alive, and they have to have giant
Yeah.
cannons.
Well, in the balance between a slow, clunky tank and spiders doing somersaults,
Yeah,
we have found a good balance there. I mean, even in the original, I think it was it in the Warrior trilogy? It was either Warrior or Blooded Kerensky, where I think Allard jumps his mech onto the side of a building and reaches in to try to grab somebody.
yeah.
I mean that there's a lot of agility in original BattleTech. Granted, Stackpole, has a dramatic flair to it, but still,
mm,
you can't say that the original authors didn't envision a dynamic moving machine.